Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to another TED Talk. No, to another Gamelit and Lit RPG highlights video. This one for Manufacturing Magic by Troy Osgood and Jaime Castle. This is a playing the game story. None of the characters are trapped in the game; they're just playing the game. Let me read you the description here that the authors have provided of the series itself. As a GM, Jeff utilizes a unique progression system of magic built around the manipulation of video game code. Weaving his hotfixes with the already established Infinite Worlds code, Jeff rescues players, corrects glitches, and more. Additionally, experience Infinite Worlds through the eyes of players like Dak, Riccardi, Azir, and Juliet. Enjoy the mundane to vital character growth with the main character who is Hard Rock Data's only hope for the with plenty of quests, loot, adventures, dragons, and magic. Rich characters and world building offer humor alongside lots of monster fighting and adventures. So I have 5 highlights for this book. I've really enjoyed it. My first highlight is this is honestly a very unique premise. Right? And there are not many stories where the character is a DM or a moderator which focuses on them being a DM and moderator, right? It's usually like, oh, I'm a DM, and then wow, I get sucked into the game world or whatever. In this case, it focuses on them actually doing the job, and it's at first it honestly sounds kind of boring at first. Like you're thinking like, oh, we're just gonna hear him dealing with complaints or whatever, but then it turns into almost like a puzzle fixing game. When his chapters, particularly his middle chapters, turn into essentially him trying to fix these puzzles that he gets presented with. So it's really interesting. That brings me to my second highlight, which is the side characters are somewhat all over the place at first, but they all weave together to tell a coherent and really interesting story about what is going on in the game as a whole. And that's awesome. Really, this is a story about what's happening to the game and the players as a whole, and seeing that experience through individual characters who enjoy the game through different styles of play is fascinating to me, and something that really kind of it's almost an exploration of kind of geek RPG culture, which is really cool. It brings me to the third, actually, a little bit more digging into that, which is the game difficulty gets ramped up to 10, and players and the game designers all discover that the difficulty provides them with more fun than the old tired game format. Now that's not a spoiler. That happens right at the beginning of the game, or right at the beginning of the book, right at the beginning of the book, and it's very clear right from the get-go that this is what's going to happen. That's always been something I've found to be true. The more difficult and realistic and immersive an RPG is, the more fun I typically have with it. It's not that style of play is not for everybody, but that's something I've always enjoyed, and it's great seeing it in a book. That brings me to my fourth highlight, which is the game mechanics themselves are actually pretty interesting. The lore is fascinating, and honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed I don't get to play this game. The way the author weaves the lore of the game with the story of the players and Jeff's GM story is really impressive. I've always wanted to try that kind of multi-narrative format where there's this big overarching thing going on, and there are kind of segmented stories that all weave together and are connected with the main character through the heart of it. And I've never done it because it's really difficult to get right. But Troy and Jaime did it right in this. I think they did a really great job. That brings me to the fifth highlight, which is this is not a normal lit RPG. It's a breath of fresh air. To me, this felt like I was playing with friends after school, trying to find ways to either bug the system, get super jumps on Halo, or find loopholes, or how to unstick a level 100 character that fell through the floor and got stuck on our favorite RPG. It was pretty nostalgic and an interesting puzzle-solving story. And I can't wait to dig into book 2 personally. All right, well, thank you for listening. If you would like to support the authors of the story, Troy Osgood and Jaime Castle, please purchase the book either above if you're listening to this on Amazon, or below. You'll find a link below if you're on YouTube. Thank you for listening, and happy reading. Bye-bye now.